ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदादतं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः। Sri Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita, the Gospel of Ramakrishna. We are discussing the profound statement by Sri Ramakrishna. Sandhya Gayatri te loy hoy, Gayatri abar Omkare loy hoy. Sandhya merges into Gayatri, and Gayatri again merges into Om. Elaborate discussion in Gayatri made us understand at least a little of the significance of this great mantra and how Gayatri is worshipped as Gayatri in the morning Sandhya, Pratah Sandhya, Savitri at noon, and Saraswati in the evening, Sayan Sandhya. Gayatri mantra awakens the dhi which is dormant in all human beings. That is the main contention. Dhiyo yo nah prachodayat. Nah asmakam, all of us. Our dhiyah is the plural of dhi. The intelligences, the intuitive awareness, dormant in everybody. Prachodayat, let it be kindled, let it be awakened. So this is a prayer to the sun, which is symbolic of the supreme divine intelligence of the Paramatman. Tat savitur varanyam bhargah devasya dhimahi dhiyo yo nah prachodayat. A very simple mantra. It contains 24 aksharas, 3 padas, feet, each containing 8. 8 into 3 is 24. Tat savituhu varenyam. Tat means that. Tat also is a name of Brahman. Om tatsadi nirdesho brahmanas trividha smritaha. The Gita. Brahman is called by 3 names. Om, Tat, Sat. Brahman is designated, called by 3 names. Om, Tat, Sat. Trividha Smrita, in 3-fold ways Brahman is thought of. Savituhu is a Shashti, 6th case ending singular, Shashti Ekavachana, of the word Savitra. Savitra means the sun, Savita, Savitaro, Savitaraha, Savitaram, Savitaraha, Savitaram, Savitaro, Savitrin. That is the form. It is a Rikaranta Shabda. And the word, the Pratipadik, the original word is Savitra, it becomes Savita. Savita means the sun. It has 3 forms which we discussed: Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, and Adhyatmika. Adi Bhautika form, which is the physical sun. Adi Daivata, Daivika, that is the divine sun, which is the Devata, which is Surya Devata, and Adhyatmika, which is the sun which is in all of us, as the Antaryamin, as the indweller, as the inner regulator, as our own Atman. So that Paramatman, which is symbolized with the sun, is the same as our own Atman inside. So the Adi Daivika form of the sun, which is the Surya Devata, the luminosity of the sun, this luminosity of the physical sun is governed by the laws of physics. But this luminosity that we are talking of the Adi Daivika. That means the divine sun is the light of the Paramatman. Tat Shubram Jyotisham Jyotihi Tadyad Atmavido Viduhu. Mundakoparishad. Tat Shubram, that is the supreme light, white, luminous. Jyotisham Jyotihi, is the light of lights. All the various lights in this universe derive their light from that supreme light. The sun and the moon and the stars, all of them, the celestial bodies, luminous bodies that we see, all of them receive their luminosity from that supreme light of lights. This has been repeatedly mentioned in the Upanishads. The famous verse in the Kathopanishad, which also is repeated in the Mundaka Upanishad, Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. Na tatra suryo bhati, there the sun does not shine, nor the moon. What to speak of the ordinary fire? Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam. He is shining, everything shines. And by his luminosity, everything becomes luminous. That luminosity, the supreme light. So it is called Jyotisham Jyoti, the light of lights. Swami Vivekananda borrowed this phrase from the Upanishads and incorporated it in this famous Aratrika hymn, the Khandana Bhava Bandhana Jaga Bandhana Vandi Tomai, which he wrote. The masterly description of Sri Ramakrishna as formless and formful, as Nirguna and Gunamaya, as Niranjana and Nararupadhara, as transcendental and immanent, as absolute and relative. There he, towards the end, he says, Jyotira Jyoti Ujjvala Hridi Kandara Tumitama Bhanjanahar Prabhu Tumitama Bhanjanahar. Jyotira Jyoti Ujjvala Hridi Kandara. It is the light of lights, luminous, and he destroys the darkness of ignorance in the heart. This is a remarkable description of Sri Ramakrishna as one seated in the heart. By his luminosity, he dispels the darkness of ignorance. The Bhagavad Gita also, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, 10th chapter, 11th verse. Teshamevanakam partham ahamagyanajam tamah nashayam yatma bhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata. Shankara has remarked a beautiful poetic commentary on this. Sitting in the heart of all beings, I destroy the ignorance of everybody. Nashayami atma bhavasthaha. Atman means the antakarana also many times. So sitting in the hearts of all beings, jnanadipena bhasvata nashayami. What do I destroy? Aham agyanajam tamah. That tamas which is born of ajnana. Why? Anukampartham. Out of compassion for all beings, out of mercy, I, sitting in the hearts of all beings, destroy by my self-luminosity the darkness of ignorance of every being. How big is Lord's luminosity? It can't be described, but to give a simile, the Bhagavad Gita says, when the Vishwarupa Darshana description in the 11th chapter, Ekadashodhyaya. Divi Surya Sahasrasya Bhaved Yugapaduthita. Simultaneously, if 1,000 suns rise on the horizon, in the sky, what will be the kind of blinding light? Similar is the light which illumined the entire universe when the Lord's cosmic form appeared. The Vishwarupa Darshana of the Lord was so resplendent and brilliant. These are descriptions which are given to make us understand about the luminosity. So, that Savita, that supreme light of consciousness within, Varenyam, extremely adorable and holy, sacred, worshipful, Bhargaha, the light, Dhimahi, we meditate. Everything is in the plural. We meditate on that supreme light. And may that supreme intelligence, consciousness, the light of all lights, illumine our hearts also by kindling the power of Dhi in them. The power of Dhi, as we explained, is the higher power of intuition. You are capable of intuiting higher spiritual truths only when your higher intelligence is awakened. With this ordinary intellect, as contradistinguished from intuitive intelligence, can only grasp truths in the worldly plane, physics or chemistry or mathematics or computer science or biology or literature and language, economics, all of them belong to the realm of the ordinary intellect. It's called the Manomaya. Always remember, there's Panchakosha paradigm, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. Many things will become clear. And you can juxtapose them with the Shad Chakras, Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, respectively could correspond to Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, and the Anahata could correspond to the Vijnanamaya, and the Anandamaya to the Agya, with Vishuddha as a sub-chakra in between. So if you map these onto your own body and mind, you can have some rough idea. As long as your entire attention is in the lower chakras, Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, what Ramakrishna called Guhya Linga and Nabhi, at the point anus and the generative organ and the navel, your mind is in the lower plane, eating and drinking and talking and socializing, indulging in sensual pleasures. It goes on. When there is an awakening, the Kundalini, Ramakrishna says, awakens and crosses over the Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, awakens from the Mooladhara where it has been sleeping as a Kundalini, then crossing the Manipura, the next station it reaches is the Anahata, which is the heart, the spiritual heart. The yogis say, just as the physical heart is to the left, all of you know, cardiologists and physiologists will tell you that the physical heart is to the left, and the biological heart, which is the physical heart, being on the left, does not mean the spiritual heart is also to the left. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi of the modern days is a great jnani and a yogi. He said the spiritual heart is the right. Everybody says I, they touches the right. That is the seat of I, that is the seat of supreme intelligence, that is the spiritual heart, that is the seat of Dhi. pragya, medha, intuitive intelligence, buddhi. It's called the buddhi guha, hridaya guha, hridaya akasha. In our scriptures, 3 kinds of akasha are spoken of. That also requires some elaboration. The rishis discovered 3 levels of akasha. Akasha can be roughly translated as space, although it is not strictly space. It is a very, very subtle matter, perhaps corresponding to what pre-Einstein physics used to call it ether. It is an all-pervasive, omnipresent substance called ether, in which light travels. That is the idea. How does light travel in vacuum? This was the question which physics was trying to address. And they discovered a akasha called ether. And later on, when Einstein disproved this idea, it was rejected, but slowly it is coming back. Professor George Sudarshan, a famous physicist, Indian-born American physicist. He was trained in India, but he set up a huge Center for Particle Theory in Texas at Austin. He came up with a theory which did not, of course, finally find feet. Ether is a superfluid. So the ether idea is again coming back in a different form, which was initially propounded by Sir Isaac Newton. So akasha, perhaps something very similar to the idea of ether, omnipresent, ubiquitous, extremely subtle. So the akasha which you see outside, the mahakasha, and we say this is the outer space in which various bodies exist, small and big, microcosmic and macrocosmic. The celestial bodies of the sun and the moon and the stars and the galaxies, all of them in the macrocosmic world, and the atoms and the molecules and subatomic particles and the various objects that you see in this universe, all of them are in this space called the Mahakasha. There is another kind of space which is the inner space. Just like objects span some space, thoughts are also considered objects and therefore they should span a space. That is the argument. Think of the argument follow it very closely. What are thoughts? Thoughts are subtle inner objects of perception by something which is beyond the mind. Vedanta will tell you that the Atman is Sarva Pratyaya Sakshi. Atman, the luminous self within, beyond the mind and the senses, is the Sakshi, the witness of all the Pratyayas or thoughts. And thoughts in that sense are also objects, although they are very subtle objects. They are Sukshma Vishaya, whereas the objects which we see outside in the Mahakasha, outer space, they are gross objects, Sthula Vishaya. In fact, it is the thoughts which become objects, as you see in dream. Think of dream. It's a very, very peculiar phenomenon, which we go through every day almost invariably. In dreams, there is nothing else which is seen in the outside world. The entire world of outside, seen by the senses during the waking state, completely vanishes. The whole thing is a subtle world of thoughts and ideas where mind alone remains. And every idea which is thrown up by the mind takes a form and becomes an object. So look at the peculiarity. Thoughts can become objects is proved by the experience of dream. Unfortunately, we don't think about all this very seriously. The Upanishadic Rishis, our ancient forefathers, the spiritual masters, they carefully analyzed every one of our daily experiences and came up with fantastic generalizations, subtle spiritual truths through three fundamental principles through which even science in the modern and ancient times has grown to its very high potential in the modern days. What are these three? Classification principle, generalization principle, and unification principle. These are very, very important principles in science and philosophy, not to speak of Vedanta and spirituality. So the ancient found that thoughts can become objects. So much so, extreme schools of thought in Vedanta, like in the Mandukya Upanishad and the Mandukya Karika and so on, where it is stated that you see the objects outside as a concrete objects seen by your senses, but they are only your manaspandana. They are only the vibrations of your own mind appearing as thoughts, appearing as objects. Thoughts appearing as objects. This is exactly what happens to you when you sleep and dream. Remember this. I close my eyes and go to sleep, and I see so many objects in my dream. I see huge buildings, I see carriages and horses and people moving around. I see myself walking and jumping and laughing and crying. Where did all these objects come from? They have not come from anywhere. They are projections of my own mind and thoughts. So these projections, which are my own thoughts and mind, take the form of objects. So it is possible to think of all objects in the universe as only projection of thought, and the sthula, concrete object out there can be thought of as externalized thought. Swami Vivekananda, in one of his very high Advaitic moments, has mentioned this. He talks in so many voices to suit the temperaments of hundreds of thousands of people, like in the Bhagavad Gita, for example. In the inspired talks, class discussions and interactions she had with a small group of intense sadhakas and disciples at the 1,000 Island Park in New York, near New York, there is a statement which he makes. Matter is only externalized thought. The reverse also is true. Thought is only a subtle matter. Mind is actually matter. Annamayam hi saumyamanaha. Chandogya Upanishad. Oh dear, the disciple is being addressed by the Guru. Oh dear one, my child, my disciple. The manas, the mind, is only made of matter, annamaya. A lot of experiments also have been conducted in the Chandogya Upanishad to prove this statement. So conversely, the concrete, gross matter that you see in the Mahakasha are only externalized thought. Which means it could be possible for you to project an object from your own mind, provided that you erase the interface between the waking and the dream state. I don't know whether it's becoming too much for you. It's a very subtle, simple, philosophical, spiritual point. Phase transition is an important concept in physics. Water, ice, steam. 3 states in which water can exist, H2O. So the phase transition from the waking to dream state to deep sleep state, and again coming back to the waking state via dream. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. PHASE, not FSE. Phase transition. Now the phase transition from the waking to the dream state, suppose you can erase the interface, the border, the boundary, then waking and dream become almost one and coalesce. So just like a thought becomes an object in the dream state, it should be theoretically possible to concretize a thought also in the waking state. This exactly is what the yogis can do. Swami Vivekananda saw a yogi who could accomplish this. It's not a trick. It is not magic. It is not some kind of miraculous powers. It is a simple principle by which this yogi has erased the interface between the waking and the dream state, and every one of his thoughts can materialize into an object. Swami Vivekananda told him the name of a fruit which he has not seen, a rare kind of fruit in that season, and then immediately brought it out and gave it to him. Swamiji talks about the powers of the mind, the beautiful lecture which he gave. Infinite are the powers of the human mind. These are not tricks, these are not miraculous powers of siddhis, of yogis. These are doable. You and I can also do it, provided our minds become pure and subtle, with strictest principle where we will not give ourselves to sensual pleasures, raise our mind to a level of consciousness in which we can erase the boundaries between the waking and dream and deep sleep. There is a coalescing of these 3 states in which you live in a state of mind from which you can move at will from waking to dream and dream to deep sleep. Like first gear, second gear and third gear, as Swami Nishresanandaji was working in Africa, used to funnily say, change the gear, first gear, second gear, third gear. Waking, dream, deep sleep. So the borders are erased. This is exactly what the European Union did. You don't need a visa to travel from Germany to France and France to Italy. Of course, you need one if you want to travel to UK. The Schengen visa covers the countries which are in the European Union, EU. Now the talk about Brexit, etc. is going on, which means the borders have been erased. You don't need a visa. In that case, every one of your thoughts can become concrete objects if you really will it that way. So our ancients, therefore, realizing the meaning of such an individual experience of a human mind through analysis, through contemplation, through deep reflection, Dhyana Yoga Abhyasat, Shvetashvatara Upanishad says, through deep contemplative experience and practice, they realized this at the individual level. There is another principle in physics and science in general, which is the projection principle. You project from the microcosm to the macrocosm and backward from the macro to the micro. The projection is possible. So how do you understand the secret of the macrocosm? You have no access to the macro. I do not know how this world was created. Who is the creator God? Who is the supreme being who created all these suns and the moons and the stars and the galaxies in the macro physical universe? And the atoms and the molecules and the atomic, subatomic particles and the micro universe, physical universe. How did God or whoever created all this do this? This mystery is beyond us, beyond our individual little minds. So the ancients used the principle of projection. They said, you may not know the cosmic principle of creation, but you do know and can know the individual microcosmic truths by analyzing your own body and mind. That can be easily done because my body, my mind is a small little entity. So I analyze my experience. Then through projection from the microcosm onto the macrocosm, I can have some glimpse of the secret of the macrocosm, the universe, creation and so on. That is the trick which they adopted. And this is an accepted scientific principle that the microcosm and the macrocosm are built on the same plan. You know the micro and you know the macro, therefore. This is the meaning of that allegorical meaning of the famous story which all of us know. Uma, Parvati, the mother of Ganesha and Kartikeya, once threw a challenge to both the sons. She said, I will give you this precious necklace as a gift. Or in some stories, I will give you a beautiful fruit, mango fruit or whatever, phala. Whoever circumambulates the entire universe in the fastest time will get this. Immediately, Kartikeya took his peacock, Boeing, supersonic jet, and started going down the macrocosmic universe outside. Ganesha quietly got up, went round his mother, circumambulated his mother, and then claimed the gift, the necklace or the phala. In Tamil, phala is called param. When Kartikeya came back and saw his brother has outwitted him and the mother had been partial to the elder son, he became so cross, he gave up everything. Wearing one kaupina, he went away to a hill which is called Palani, the famous Tirthasthala in Tamil Nadu. Palani, this is the phrase coined by one great saint, woman saint, no old lady, called Avayar in Tamil. Her words are extraordinary wisdom. They are in the textbook everywhere. She went and he was a great devotee of this Kartikeya called Murugan in Tamil. There's, oh Muruga, Why are you cross? Why do you want this param, phala? You yourself are the phala. Pala niyapa. Ni means you. Para means fruit. You yourself are the greatest phala, fruit, coveted by hundreds of thousands of sadhakas. So the place become Parani. These are the stories. So what is the spiritual significance, the intellectual, philosophical significance? Ganesha proved that the microcosm contains the entire macrocosm. And Kartikeya proved that the macrocosm, if you go around, you can also have an idea of the microcosm. So Ganesha Kartikeya circumambulation is allegorically talking about the microcosm, macrocosm exploration of truth. These are extraordinary small stories containing so much of wisdom. If we care to look at them, read them with tremendous faith and shraddha and unravel the cosmic mystery. So, if we can understand ourselves, we understand the universe. That is the simple thing. You probe into yourself, know thyself, Atmanam Vidhi. This is the cry of Eastern and Western philosophy and religion and spirituality. Even in the West, know thyself, know yourself. Atmanam Vidhi. If you know yourself, you know the entire universe, because you are the world and the world is you, as J. Krishnamurti always used to say. You are the world and the world is you. Devi Suktam is a famous Suktam in the Vedas. One woman saint called Vak attained a supreme spiritual state of oneness of the whole universe. And she sang this Suktam, which is always chanted on special occasions of Devi Puja. Aham Rudrebhis Varubhis Charam Yaham Aditya Ruda Vishwadevaihi, etc. It begins. I am the Aditya, I am the sun, I am the moon, I am this entire universe. I am the Varuna, I am all the Devatas. This I, here the cosmic I, the Virat Ami, which is spoken about by Swami Sharadanandaji in the famous magnum opus Sri Sri Ramakrishna Leela Prasanga, the great master, the divine play. This is the supreme I of the Ishvara, where he realizes his oneness with the whole universe. Now, when you project your individual experience of dream to the cosmic, when I dream, every object in my dream, every thought becomes an object, and I build my own universe in dream. Naratha Yoga, in the Brihadaranyaka, there is no Ratha, there is no Patha, there is no path. But there he creates a Ratha, he creates a path, he creates horses and chariots and moves on. As an individual, as a microcosmic entity, my mind is capable of creating objects from thoughts. Thoughts become objects, as it were. In other words, so project it to the cosmic, macrocosmic. So the entire universe could be thought of, carefully listen to this, the entire universe could be thought of as God's dream. How do you know? Project from the individual. In my dream, I create my own universe, which is private to me. So many objects are being created. Similarly, the Samashti Purusha, who is the aggregate of all the individuals, Samashti Chaitanya, Samashti Buddhyupahita Chaitanya, that Chaitanya, that Supreme Consciousness, which is encased in, which is limited by the cosmic Buddhi. The Buddhi, the intelligences of all the beings all over the universe. Not only human beings, all the animals and plants, subhuman beings, all the fishes and water animals inside the oceans and so on, insects, everybody, all the intelligences put them together. And that intelligence, if that becomes the upadhi of a cosmic Purusha, who is the Samashti Chaitanya, that is called Ishvara or Hiranyagarbha, cosmic mind, Ishvara Chaitanya. So when that Supreme Ishvara dreams, his dream should be the entire universe. You and I now talking, listening, are dream objects of dream of God. Think of that. So just as my dream objects do not know me as the dreamer, we also, being the dream objects of God, do not know Him as the dreamer. That's why the Creator God, the Preserver God, Brahma and Vishnu respectively, are pictured, thought of as always lying down. The poster of Ranganatha, Shayana. Shayana means lying down, sleeping. And that Shayana is not ordinary Shayana, it is Ananta Shayana. Ananta, infinite, endless, beginningless and endless, that means timeless. Beyond time, therefore beyond space, and hence beyond causation. Beyond time, space and causation is a Shayana of the Supreme Lord, and His dream objects are the entire universe, the subtle and the gross universe, which we see, which we interact with. This is one idea which came to our ancients, and immediately they said, we have cracked the secret of Srishti. And the thoughts are actually words. That's why the Gayatri Mantra, the mantra is so important. You can't think without a word. And this word is called Shabda or Nada, and that is the primordial sound, the Adi Shabda, which is in fact Anadi, is a primordial but has no Adi. It is the most original sound, and therefore Ananta is called Anahata Shabda. Anahata Dhvani, the unstruck sound. And that is Om. That is the beauty and the importance of Om. So the entire universe has been created by God taking hold of this Om. And Om is symbolized by Brahma, Chaturmukhi Brahma, the four-faced Brahma, the Creator God. And Chaturmukhi Brahma is supposed to come from the navel of Mahavishnu. Vishnu Nabhikamale Sthita Brahma. Why Nabhikamala? Nabhikamala is the Manipura chakra. Sound arises from the Manipura. Sound as Anahata is supposed to rise from Manipura chakra, and sound as thought becomes an object. And the four faces represent the four Vedas. Rig, Sama, Yaju, Atharvana Veda. And the Om is the essence of all the Vedas. See how the whole picture becomes clear. You think about this carefully. That's why it's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, mentioned in the Kathopanishad. Yama tells Nachiketa this mantra which is borrowed by Bhagavan, Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, because the Upanishad Sara, essence of Upanishads. O Nachiketa, my dear, qualified, exceptionally brilliant disciple and aspirant, I will tell you that supreme truth by which the entire universe is created. Very briefly I will tell you. That which is the essence of all the Vedas, which is spoken of by all the Vedas as its very essence, the supreme secret and the truth of the Vedas, and all the tapas, the austerities and penances that hundreds of thousands of rishis and sadhakas and aspirants do, all of them proclaim this, and desiring to realize which, disciples live the brahmacharya ashrama in the Guru Griha, in the Gurukula. They practice continence, strict control of the senses, meditation, dhyana, study, swadhyaya. For what? To realize this one truth. This one truth I will very briefly tell you in just one letter. Om is the truth. Sarve Veda yat padamamananti tapamsi sarvani cha yad vadanti yadichanto brahmacharyam charanti tatte padam sangrahena bravimi Om ityetat. After Gayatri we'll enter into Om. This is a very vast subject. The essence of the whole Vedas, Indian spiritual literature, Indian spiritual wisdom of thousands of years, millennia, is just contained in the small bija, small seed, the letter called Om. How many Upanishads are devoted to this? How many Puranas? Om is the most sacred syllable in the Hindu religion, and it is the universal symbol acceptable by all the religions, as Swami Vivekananda said. So he says we have a universal temple where there will be only Om, nothing else. This is acceptable to everybody because this is the most universal. This is not religion specific. This is not philosophy specific. It is not region specific. It is universal beyond time, space and causation. This was Swami Vivekananda's contention. The same mantra has been borrowed by Bhagavan. Sarve Veda yat padamamananti tapamsi sarvani cha yad vadanti yadichanto brahmacharyam charanti tatte padam sangrahena pravakshe. This I will tell you very, very briefly. Sangrahena pravakshe. I will tell you. That is Om, the secret of Om. And the Taittiriya Upanishad says, Yas chandasam rishabho vishwarupaha chandobhyo dhyamritaat sambabhova. Yas chandasam rishabha. Rishabha is the supreme, the most prominent, most important. And Vishwarupaha, it is infinitely dimensional and it is all pervading. What is that? Om. Chandasam Rishabho Vishwarupaha. All the Upanishads speak about this Om. Therefore, in India, any sacred ceremony cannot begin without chanting of this mantra Om. Every mantra will contain this seed syllable Om. That is the beauty of this syllable. And therefore, if we now understand even intellectually how the macrocosm oneness formula gives rise to the entire creation, we can now appreciate that the thoughts which arise in my mind are also objects in a sense. So when the Kundalini reaches the Anahata in the heart, this idea of the Om being the subtlest and the most powerful syllable encompassing the past, present and the future in time, the whole universe, Vishwarupa, is clearly understood. Om ityedad aksharamidam sarvam tasyobhavyakyanam bhutam bhavad bhavishyaditi sarvam onkara eva. Mandukya Upanishad, first mantra. Bhutam bhavad bhavishyaditi sarvam onkara eva. Past, present and future, all this is only onkara. So timeless and beyond space and causation, but subsumed and including all time and space. This is Om. Om can be discussed at great length, but the Vijnanamaya I am talking about, where there is awakening of the Dhi, the Gayatri Mantra speaks about, gives you an intuitive understanding of the wonderful power of this Om. The yogis and the saints and sages say, the rishis say, that when the Kundalini awakens and touches the Anahata, you hear, you listen to a mysterious, unstruck sound which is awakened. The unstruck sound is called Anahata Dhvani Om. Yogis say they can constantly listen to this sound. Thakur Sri Ramakrishna said, in Mahanishi, midnight hour, when the whole world is quiet and sleeping, the yogi is awake. And at that still moment of tranquility, in his heart of hearts, in the Vijnanamaya Atman, he listens to the Anahata Dhvani, the unstruck sound. Not by this ear or the mind, but a spiritual ear and a spiritual mind. Shrotrasya shrotram manaso manoyat vachoha vacham savu pranasya pranaha chakshushas chakshurati muchyadhiraha pretyasmal lokad amrita bhavanti. Eye of the eye, ear of the ear, the prana of the prana. This is a spiritual dimension of everything. There you hear the Anahata Dhvani, which is accompanied by an experience of light. The experience of light and the experience of sound are almost simultaneous. This is the verdict, experience of the yogis and the great sages. You see a mysterious, uncreated light in the heart. Sri Ramakrishna says in the Gospel, when the Kundalini reaches the heart, you see a mysterious, blinding light and say, Eki, Eki, what is this light? What is this light? You are simply struck with wonderment and amazement. And yogis and people with experience, they say, the difference between this light and the light which we see is that light of consciousness will make you experience and feel that you are that light. The light which we see outside as ordinary physical light we see the light as different from us. But this light of consciousness will awaken in you an experience that you are that light. That is called the Jiva Atman, Pratyaga Atman. That is the inner self. Yoyam Vijnanamayah Praneshu Hridyantar Jyotihi. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Vijnanamayah Praneshu Hridi Antar Jyotihi. It is a Jyoti inside the heart. Vijnanamaya. Even that is not the final light. There is the light of this light. Tat Shubram Jyotisham Jyotihi. The Atman that you experience in the heart as the individual self is identical with, according to Advaita, integral part of, according to Vishishtadvaita, though eternally separate, but completely, integrally bound and connected, according to Dvaita Vedanta. But whatever, this light is only a reflection of the supreme light of consciousness, which is called the Paramatman. Tat Shubram Jyotisham Jyotihi Jyotira Jyoti Ujjvala Hridi Kandara. So that is the light which is your real nature. And Advaita Vedanta says you are that supreme light. Realize this. Awaken, awaken. Swami Vivekananda wrote in a letter, I preach nothing else but awake, 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 awake. Let us now awaken to this spiritual consciousness. How much time and how many lives, hundreds of thousands of lives, if you believe in rebirth as we do in Hinduism, Buddhism and Jainism in India, how many lives we have come and gone. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani, jathare shayanam. Coming and going, again taking birth, again becoming big, again dying. How many hundreds of thousands of millions of lives we have wasted in this kind of coming and going. Sense pleasures, eating and drinking. Constantly focused outside. Now that we have come to Sri Ramakrishna, we are blessed, and the most powerful spiritual giant embodiment of spirituality is now here at your doorstep in the form of Ramakrishna and his divine Shakti Sharada, Nararishi Swami Vivekananda, and his dear son Rakhal Raj Swami Brahmananda, and a huge battalion of illumined sannyasin and household disciples, and the Guru Parampara and the Sannyasi Parampara and the household Grihastha Bhakta Parampara is going on even now. So we have been exposed to this willy-nilly, called Srotapanna. You have come to this stream. Whether you have come on your own or somebody pushed you into this, you are in this stream, and therefore let us awaken, awaken. This Corona, COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdown has taught us a great lesson. Learn how to live by yourself and awaken the spiritual consciousness within. So we are constantly trying to talk about it, think about it, and we are also blessed that we are able to share these great elevating thoughts with hundreds of people like you who are listening, and may it awaken our spiritual consciousness in the heart. That is the prayer of the Gayatri. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukampadhrita Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namamaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.